In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about problems in mathematical terms. We're going to make some tables and then talk about different variables and what those variables mean to the problem. All right, let's look at example 1. I'm going to underline and mark some important information as we go in the example so that we know what to use in our solving of the problem. Marcus reads for 30 minutes each night. I believe that's important. He wants to determine the total number of minutes he will read over the course of a month. Total number per month. Okay. He wrote the equation T equals 30D to represent the total amount of time that he has spent reading, where T represents the total number of minutes. I'm going to circle my variables here. And D represents the total number of days that he read during the month. Determine which variable is independent and which is dependent. Then create a table to show how many minutes he has read in the first 7 days. That's a lot of information that we've underlined. I underlined each part of that so we would know what we're looking for, what we're expected to do, and what information we may need to solve the problem. All right, so let's take a look at what it's asking us to do. The first thing that it wants us to do, it says, determine which variable is independent and which is dependent. These are new vocabulary words. Independent variable is your first vocabulary word. If you could put that in your ISN, move this out of the way so we can see it standing out there. An independent variable is independent of the other one. It changes no matter what. A lot of times in problems like this, it's going to be time, like days. No matter whether he reads or not, another day is going to pass. So the days are independent. They're going to keep going on and on no matter what. Sometimes it's years, sometimes it's minutes, weeks. A lot of times it's time. Sometimes it's not, but a lot of times it is time because it's the variable that continues on or changes without regard to any other variable. Doesn't need any help. It just changes on its own, no matter what. A dependent variable, this is your second vocabulary word. A dependent variable depends on the other variable. So the dependent variable changes only when the independent variable changes. If you only, let's say, you can only read 4 books in a day. No more than that. If you could read 4 books on the first day, you can't read 4 more books until the next day comes. So it depends on the next day happening. So it depends on the independent variable. It'll make more sense as we move along. Dependent variable depends on the other variable. It doesn't change without the independent changing. All right, now let's take a look again at our example. We have to determine which is dependent and which is independent. Well, the two variables are the total number of minutes that he's read and the days. Can the number of minutes he reads change if the days don't change? Can the days continue if he doesn't read? If you don't read for your homework tonight, is tomorrow still going to come? Sure it is. The independent variable is the number of days because that's the one that's going to happen no matter what. Whether you read or not, tomorrow is going to come. So the independent variable is the number of days. So I'm just going to abbreviate here, put number of days read. The independent variable does not depend on anything, whereas the dependent variable does. So if tomorrow comes, you could read more. If the next day comes, then you could read more. So dependent is going to be the total number of minutes read. So total minutes read. And just abbreviated minutes there. Okay, so we did that. We did this part. So I'm going to put a check. We did that. We did that. So I know I'm getting everything done I need to get done. Then we're going to create a table to show how many minutes he has read in the first 7 days. All right, when we set up our table here, it's really important to put the independent variable on the left because it's going to change no matter what. Then we'll put the dependent variable on the right, and it will change depending on what the number is on the left. So over here, I'm going to put the number of days read. Number of days that he read during the month. Okay, so number of days he reads, and they tell me that D represents that. So I'm going to put D in parentheses so I know that that's the number of days. That's the variable that I've assigned to it. Each step here, each part that we're doing, the title, the variable, each one is worth a point on your classwork. So make sure you have every little piece that you need. All right, so I'm going to mark the D because I got the D. Over here is going to be my dependent variable, which is the total number of minutes read. And that is represented by the letter T. All right. So I got T, I got that one. Okay. Create a table to show how many minutes he has read on the first 7 days. That's going to tell me what goes here. So on the first day, the second day, third, 4, 5, 6, the first 7 days. I have plenty of spaces in my table that they gave me. That's a hint there. Most of them you should have exactly enough boxes. Okay, so total number of minutes read. Okay, now let's see. T equals 30D. So we're going to do, I'm going to put over here with this one. This is 30D. So we're going to take 30 times whatever this is to get what goes here. So 30 times 1, on the first day he read 30 minutes. On the second day he read 60 minutes. 30 more minutes. 30 more minutes. 30 more. 30 more, 30 more. Totally blanked out there, I'm sorry. To do the 30 quickly, I just took the 3 from the 30 and multiplied it times my number, added a 0. So 1 times 3, 2 times 3, the 0, 3 times 3 with the 0, 4 times 3, 5 times 3, 6 times 3, and 7 times 3. All right, now, if they did not tell us this equation, if they did not give that to us, then there would be a spot for us to come up with that. So let's talk about how we might come up with that if they didn't give it to us. We will figure out that the first day that he read 30, the next day he read 30 more, and we would understand that we would take whatever this is and we multiply times 30 to get to here. So if I see that that's happening and it's consistent, it's happening throughout, then I know that it's this, whatever this variable is, times 30 equals this. So then I would know my equation is 30 times D equals T, the variable here, or T equals 30D, like they have it. Either way is correct. All right, let's look at another example. As we go, I'm going to still mark everything in my example that might be important information that I will need for my problem. Kira designs websites. She can create 3 different websites each week. So 3 each week. Kira wants to create an equation that will give her the total number of websites she can design given the number of weeks she works. Determine the independent and the dependent variables, so we have to figure that out again. Create a table to show the number of websites she can design over the first 5 weeks. Finally, write an equation to represent the number of websites she can design when given any number of weeks. Okay, so what she wants to find is the total number of websites. I'm going to circle this. She can design given the number of weeks she works. Okay, I'm going to box this since I just took away the underline. Okay, so those 2 things that I circled are going to be the 2 titles that we put here. We have to determine which one is independent and which one is dependent. Let's determine that first. It's going to help us to know where they go over here in the table. Remember, independent is going to change no matter what. We have websites and weeks. Which one's going to go on without the other one? I believe it's weeks, because it's time. Next week is going to come whether I get websites designed or not. So the independent variable is the number of weeks worked. That is our independent variable. That makes the dependent variable the websites. If she can only do 3 each week, she can't do 3 more until next week. It's a limit. She can't do more. Okay, so this is going to be total websites designed. All right, they don't give us the variable, but we must assign a variable for it. Okay, I meant to change colors here. That's okay. I'm going to check mark. We've got independent and dependent. Let's go ahead and fill in our table, and then we'll come up with our equation as we go. So on this side, remember, is the independent, because it doesn't matter if the other one changes. So number of weeks worked, and let's call that W. We have to give it a variable, so we'll give it a W. And on this side is going to be the total websites designed. Can't fit that. And we can't make it W, so let's make it D for designed. How many were designed? Let's look at a variable also. Okay, so we need the first 5 weeks. So that'll be week 1, week 2, 3, 4, and 5. These 2 examples have started with the number 1. It won't always. Okay, I got first 5 weeks. All right, so we have to create the table, and we have to write an equation. So we know that she can create 3 websites each week. So in the first week, she created 3. On the next week, she created 3 more. So total, she's now created 6. The next week, she can create 3 more. She's now created a total of 9. Week 4, she creates 3 more. She's now created a total of 12. 3 more on week 5. She's now created a total of 15 websites. Okay, now the answer is not 15 because she wants to create an equation. So she's looking for an equation, so no matter how many weeks she works, if it's 45 weeks, she could still figure out how many websites without continuing our table. Okay, so now we have to come up with the equation on our own. To do that, we're going to find how do we get from 1 to 3. And now we're doing this based on multiplication or division, not necessarily addition. There might be some in there, but I'm not going to say I add 2 because it doesn't work here. So how do I get from 1 to 3? I'm going to mark with a different color just so we can see what we've done. All right, to go from 1 to 3, we need to multiply times 3. To go from 2 to 6, we're going to multiply times 3. 3 to 9. I'm seeing a pattern here. I can check it. It works. Okay, so we are going to take whatever is in this column, which we're going to call W. Excuse me. We're going to multiply W times 3. Now remember, we're not going to put W times 3 because when we have a variable, the coefficient always goes in front. So 3 times W equals whatever's in this column, which is D. Or you could write, and you don't have to write both, but you could choose one. You could put D equals 3W. So this equals 3 of these. So every time she works a week, she makes 3. Okay? Every time she works, she makes 3. All right. Now, we we know that it's this way and not with a W over here and the D over here because of which one is independent and which one is dependent. We're solving for the dependent variable because it depends on what happens over here. Okay, we'll keep that in mind as we solve the next problem. The next one might be a little bit trickier. All right. I remember to switch colors after I underline here. Okay, Pyra streams movies through a company that charges her a $5 monthly fee. It's kind of like Netflix. They charge you a little monthly fee, plus $1.50 per movie. So let's say that today I'm going to watch a movie. Well, I have to pay my $5 monthly fee for the month of whatever I'm in, and then I have to pay $1.50 for the movie I want to watch. If I want to watch another movie, I have to pay another $1.50, but as long as I'm still in the same month, I don't have to pay the $5 fee because I already paid it for that month. Okay, so it's kind of tricky, but let's say I'm watching movies in February, and I pay my monthly fee at the beginning of the month, and throughout the month I watch movies. Each time I watch a movie, I pay $1.50. That $5 kind of turns on the movies for the month, and then $1.50 each time I want to watch one. Hope that makes sense. All right, it would like us to determine the independent and dependent variables, write an equation to model the situation, and create a table to show the total cost per month, given that she might stream between 4 and 10 movies in a month. This one's not going to start at 1. This is one of those examples where it does not start at 1. Okay, first let's figure out our independent variable. Our two variables, it looks like, is, let's see, total cost per month and the number of movies that she gets. Because here's the number of movies that she might get and her total cost. So which one is going to change without the other? Which one is independent? This one doesn't have time. Time has been it. I believe that unless she rents a movie, she won't have to pay more. So I don't have to pay $1.50 unless I rent a movie. So the movie affects the cost. I'm not going to have to pay $1.50 no matter what. So that's dependent. The amount I have to pay is dependent on how many movies. It depends on how many movies I want to watch. So my independent is the number of movies. Number of movies I'm going to watch. Dependent cost depends on the number of movies. So this is going to be total cost per month. That depends. I can't tell you it's going to cost me $10 a month. It depends on how many movies I want to watch. All right, let's go ahead and remember we put here is the independence. This is going to be the number of movies. And let's call that n, because we're going to need a variable. All right, on this side goes the total cost per month. And let's call that C for cost. How about that? And you don't have to call it those variables. You can pick a T for total if you want, as long as you specify what your variable is here, so that when we have it here, we know what it stands for, what it represents. Okay, so I found my dependent and independent variables. I'm going to check those off, knowing that I got them done. All right, so in total number of movies, we want to stream between 4 and 10. So I'm going to start with 4 movies. She never watches just 3. It's got to be 4. Not sure why. She just must have that rule in her head. And look, exactly enough boxes. Told you, it's going to be about this, exactly enough. Sometimes it might be one short or one extra, but they usually plan ahead. Okay, got 4 to 10 movies. All right, so the company charges her a $5 monthly fee plus $1.50 per movie. Okay, now we have some math to do. Now, if I rent 4 movies, I'm going to pay the $5 fee, because I have to, plus however much it costs for 4 movies. Now I'm going to use my calculator to make this quicker and less messy on my paper. Okay, so $1.50 per movie. That means I have to multiply, right? I'm going to do 1.50, so $1.50 times 4 movies. That's going to be $6. Equals a total of $11 that month if she rents just 4 movies. New scenario. If she rents 5 movies, not 5 more, if she rents 5, she says, okay, I have $11. What if I rent 5? But I have enough for that? Okay, well, you have the monthly fee of $5 plus $1.50 for each movie. So I'm going to do $1.50 times 5 movies. That would be $7.50. All right, $7 and $5 makes $12.50. So $12.50. Okay, well, I have $12.50. Could I rent 6 movies? Well, you have a $5 monthly fee no matter what, plus, if we had $1.50, and now I'm noticing that I can just do 1.5 because that 0 really doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to shortcut it here. 1.5 times 6 is $9. Okay, if she rented 6 movies, it would be $14. Okay. If she rented 7 movies, we're catching a pattern here. You have to have the $5 fee plus $1.50 per 7 movies is $10.50. Hopefully you're finding a pattern here. 15.50, 10 plus 5 is 15 and 50 cents, so $15.50. And I have to finish my table, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I have a $5 fee plus $1.50 times 8, $12 equals $17. $5 fee plus 9 movies times $1.50 each movie, $13.50, $18.50, 10 movies, $5 fee plus $1.50. Oh, I could do that one in my head. Oops, times 10, sorry. $15. Okay, if you notice, I wrote out over here how I solved it so that my brain can see the pattern as I go. This is going to help me come up with my equation. Sorry, that took a while. Okay, so if I come up with my equation now, I have this number I got by doing this, m times $1.50. M times $1.50, m times $1.50, m times $1.50 each time. So I'm going to start with that. So m times $1.50, and remember I did just 1.5, and I got to put my coefficient in the front, so 1.5m, and every time I added on the $5. Every time, because that's a flat fee. That's not dependent, that's not independent, it's neither. It's always $5. And that equals our total cost. And remember, you could always do it this way also. Either way is correct. Now, I want to know, why is it not correct to be this way? Why is this not correct? Well, here's why. This means they charge $5 every time there's a movie, and $1.50 once a month. This one tells you what happens every single time. This one is just a flat one time. This part's a little bit tricky when you add on the addition of something. If you have questions, please let me know. We will definitely do more practice in class. Write the notes in your ISN. Sorry this was so long, but it was a very important lesson that we needed to see all the steps of.